Okay. So in any project right, so we need one version control tool. Either it is a Git, okay, we can call it as a CV or SVC. Okay, there are different version control tools are there in a market. Okay, so, nowadays everyone using version control tool called Git. Okay, everyone using version control tool called Git. But before Git, we also have a SVN. People call it as a subversion or the SVN, whatever. So when you are working with an version control tool Git, we need to understand why Git came in a picture. When they have an SVN and all other version control tools, then why they come up with an Git and how Git works, right? So Git is basically a distributed version control system. What is that? Distributed version control system. What is mean by distributed version control system? Okay, what is an centralized version control system? We'll see. Before understanding that, we need to understand what is a Git and GitHub. Okay, what is the difference between Git and GitHub, right? When you write a code, right, you write a code and you maintain all the versions of your code, right? You write a code, and if you write any changes, you do any modifications, that all versions we try to maintain with the help of Git. So that you are doing on your local system, right? That code you try to maintain in a one remote location, that is nothing but GitHub. GitHub is a remote repository, we call, where you can maintain your code in that, and your team members also can contribute it. They can pull that code, they can update their code in this. So basically, it helps you to maintain your code into remote repository where all your team members can contribute on it. Okay. So now I hope now you clear with what is a Git. Git is a version control tool. GitHub is a remote repository where you can store the code, where you can maintain the code, and you can contribute your project level. Okay, all your team members can work together on that. They can pull, they can push. Okay, whatever you updated the code, they can get it, and they can modify that, and they can work on it. Okay, so when come to the Git, as I said, it is a version control tool. Fine, it is a distributed version control tool. What is meant by distributed version control tool? What is a distributed version control tool? So every user, okay, if you are in a project, every user has their own repository, local repository. Okay. So what is mean by that? Every Git, okay. What is mean by that? Git is a distributed version control system. That means every user has their own local repository. So what we discussed just now, Git we have on a remote repository. So okay, if they're writing, once they write a code, they bring into Git control. Git has first local repository. Once every user has their own local repository, once feel that okay, their code is as expected, okay, they want to push into a remote repository, then they are ready. Once they are ready, they can push it to a remote repository. So we have a local repository and remote repository. So when developer want to code anything, they need not to depend on remote repository because they have local repository. Everything they can write in their local. Once they are comfortable, okay, once they are comfortable, then they can try to push that code to a remote repository. Okay, so let me try to take a small paint here. So let me try to see what is a centralized and distributed version control. So let us say it is a centralized version control system. Let us say this is SVN. Every user maintain their code in this particular centralized version control system. Okay, if they want to update the code, if they want to modify anything, they have to connect to this particular centralized version control system. Okay, what is the disadvantage with that? If a central version control system is down, so you cannot work on it. Okay, that is a problem. Okay, so how can we avoid this kind of issue? To address this kind of issues, okay, what they did, they come up with a concept called Git. to avoid these kind of centralized version control issues, they have come up with a concept called Git. So Git level, what happens? Every user local, there is a one local repository. Okay, every user has a local repository, so they can work initially locally. They can work. They can write a code. They can update the code locally. Everything once they're done, then they can push that code to remote repository. Okay, suppose you've written a code A, you feel that okay, my part is done, you are good with, then you can push it to code here in the remote repository. Okay, now you have a remote repository. Suppose you written a code A, now that code you push to a remote repository. On top of it, your users, your team members want to work on it. So what they can do, they can pull that particular code into their local repository, and they can modify that, or they can some update the code. Okay, so let us say they updated something and they created a code like a dash or double a, something like that. Okay, they created a code, they modified the code, and they updated and make it as an a double a. Then this particular user can push that code to remote repository. Now in remote repository we have a code like double a, but initial user has only code a, right? So he can pull that updated code if whenever you want to work on that particular code, so he can pull that particular code and you can work on this now. So every user, whoever want to contribute on this project, right, what they do, they try to pull the latest code from remote repository and then start working their local. Okay, once they feel comfortable, they can push that code to a remote repository. Okay, so I hope you all clear what is meant by a local repository and remote, and what is the distributed version control system and centralized version control system. Previously, everyone used to have a centralized version control system, but the problem is the okay, if that particular centralized version control system is down, so every developer like face the issue. They cannot work on it. All right. So when you are working with an Git is a distributed version control system, fine. You can install the Git on your local machine first, and you need to set up some configurations. Then you can try to create a remote repository like GitHub account, and you can push the code into that. Okay. So let me try to install the Git and configure to practice this, right? So what you can do, there is a tool, there is one of the online tutorials like Git immersion. This site, you can go to this particular site. It's one of the best tool to learn Git. Okay, so different labs they have given. Okay, lab one, setup, create a project, check out, making changes, like all the steps they're given step by step. Okay, you can make use of this to practice. Okay, so what you can do first, we can try to install the Git. To install, what you can do, you can say git-scm.com. You can go to source code management point of view, right? So you can try to install Git over here. Simply you can install Git on Windows. So I'm using Windows operating system, 64-bit setup. So you can try to install that. So if you are using Mac, Linux, depends on your operating system, okay, you can install. So once your executable file is ready, just try to run the executable that. So you would need any additional icon on your desktop, just you can try to select that and make it ready. Just you follow all the steps and you can try to make it install. Done. So okay, Git is about to install and it will be ready. Okay. So once it is installed, so what you can do, you can create a local repository first. Okay. And then you can start working. All of you try to install this first Git as well as Visual Studio Code also you can install, so that any code you are writing, you can try to write. So in my system, already Visual Studio Code is there. So let me try to look at now. If I say Git, you see here, there's a Git bash is there, Git CMD, Git GUI. These three types of tools are installed already. So if you want to work some Linux related commands, you can take Git bash. Git CMD is nothing but your Windows CMD. GUI level, we'll try to look at GUI how it works now. So try to practice with CLI, Git CLI. so that it will be useful. GUI anyway, we can try to look at. So when you open the Git bash, it is just like your prompt. You can try to work over here. Okay. But the thing is, most of the times when you're writing a code nowadays, we use a Visual Studio Code. Okay, we use a Visual Studio Code. So in my system already I installed Visual Studio Code. So okay, you can try to open that Visual Studio Code. There you try to write. Okay. So when you are working with a Git, as I said, first let us say you joined an organization today. You installed Git on your given laptop. In order to start with your project, we need to set up some configurations that we call it as an git config we can do, right? So git config, globally you are setting your name and your email ID so that if you configure these details, right? So going forward, if you share your code to remote repository, everyone knows who committed it, right? Who is the author basically, who committed that code, right? So they can see all those details. So let us try to run this first. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to run git config global, the user.name. Okay, let us try to configure this. Okay, you can try to give certain name. Okay, let me try to give it as an Arago suppose. Okay, then what you can do, you can try to set up your mail ID as well. Okay, your organization might have given one mail ID, right? You can try to set up. Okay, something like that I have given now. Okay, that is fine. The primary requirement of your configurations, global configuration is done. Line ending preferences also you can set up. What is mean by line endings? When you are writing in a code on Windows machine, generally Windows has different line ending concepts and Linux has different. If you want to set up that, okay, you can try to set up. You can ignore that as of now. Okay, you can leave it that as of now. You don't need to work on that. So once your repository is ready, let us say I'm trying to work on particular code, right? So what you can do, let us say I can create one folder, that particular project related folder, I can say. Okay, let us say I'm trying to create a folder like okay, mkdir. You know, right? What is mkdir does? It will create a directory. If you don't know the basic Linux commands, you can look at my previous videos and okay, you can try to. Or else in Windows also you can try to create a folder, that is up to you. Okay. So I'm trying to create a folder like DevOps, mkdir DevOps. In this particular directory, I'm going to work all my project. Let us say cd DevOps. I went into that project. Do you have any files in it as of now? No. It's empty directory, right? So this is my project based directory. Let us say DevOps is my project based directory. Here onwards, you can start all the development, right? So you can say why we require okay Git. We are not developers, right? Why we need all those stuff? Git is for everyone. Like okay, developers also require Git. Even DevOps engineer, cloud engineer also require Git because you are also writing the code on Terraform, some infrastructure as a code, right? So there you utilize the Git. As a DevOps engineer, you are also required to developer given code. You take that and you try to build that. You try to deploy it, right? So you also required an Git to understand Git efficiently, manage the Git efficiently. You need that. Okay. So once we created a directory, you can start working on it. You can create a files. You can write code in it and start initializing it. But when you're writing a code, as I said, a Visual Studio Code is a best option everyone install and we try to work on it, right? So you want to open a Visual Studio Code in that particular directory you want to open. Simply what you can do, you can say code space dot, right? You can simply say code dot. Okay, what it does, it will open the Visual Studio Code in this particular directory called DevOps. See, you see here, it is opened Visual Studio Code fine, and also it opened in the folder called DevOps, right? In DevOps folder, that particular required project is there, so it is already opened. Now you see here, if you want to create any file, any folder, right? If you want to create a file, you can click on that, it will create a file. You can try to name it. If you want to create any folder, you can create a folder here. Okay, refresh, collapse all the folders. Different options are there, right? So let us say I'm creating a file here. I'm trying to create some Python based project, suppose. Okay. I'm creating something like hello.py. In my system already Python is installed. Okay. No need to worry about it. Right. So you see, py is nothing but Python file. You can code it here. You can write all your code here. Right. Simply I'll try to write, okay. Okay. I can say, okay. Good morning. Okay. A simple one line code we have written. Let us save it. Okay. Let us save it. So we are done with writing the code. Okay, I have written a simple code, but you written a thousands of lines code. Okay, you modified it. After let us say tomorrow you modified that. You did a lot of changes, but it is not working as expected. So what happens? You want to revert back, right? But did you bring this code, this particular directory, project directory, DevOps into Git control? No. Simply started working DevOps project, but you didn't bring this into Git control. So what we discussed, every developer has their own local repository, right? How to get that? How to create a local repository? The first command we are going to learn in a Git is git init. When you run git init in the project, in your project directory, so what happens? It is going to create an empty repository. It is going to create one folder called .git, and it is going to create an empty repository. Now this code is in version control now. Whatever you are writing a code, okay, it is a version control. Okay. And again, if you install the local repository, it doesn't mean that it saved all the versions. You have to tell that, hey, I have written this code, try to save it as my version 1. Tomorrow I modified some more changes. I can say it as a version 2, version 3. In future, if you want to go back to version 2 or version 1, yes, in that case, you can try to go back because you already saved your versions. Okay. How to do that? How to save the versions and all? We'll try to look at. Okay. So once it is initialized Git, you look at here, we created some files, right? What are the files? Hello.py I created. Okay, good. But if you look at Git status, it is saying that, hey, you created one file called hello.py, but it is not tracked. It is untracked file. Git is not started tracking that, right? So how to track it? Whatever the files you want to bring to Git control, so we can add that file first. So what we do, first we try to add that file. Okay. So let us say you are ready. Now this is my version, first version. Then you can try to say git commit. Whenever you are trying to do commit, you have to make sure that you give some meaningful message. Let us say this is my first commit. Let us say this is my first commit. So what are the commits till now you have? You can say git log. Git log, it will show you what is your commit ID, who committed it, what is the commit ID, who is the author, what is the author mail ID, when it is committed, what is the commit message they given, all the details it has given. Okay. So when you are working with a Git, there are 3 stages I can say. Working directory, staging area, then local repository. Okay. These 3 stages are there. Working directory, staging area, and local repository. Whenever you create a file, that will be available in your working directory, fine. Okay, good. So what we do first, we run a command called git add to bring that files to staging area. Like it is a temporary area. Like you can like let us say you are working with e-commerce site. What do? You would select a product and put it in a cart, right? Why you put it in a cart? You can add all the required products. You can put it in a cart. If you want, you can change that to cart as well, right? In the cart items, you can try to change as per your requirements. Then you go for payment. Once you have done your all the checklist, whatever you want to add into cart, you have done. Okay, you are good to go. Then what do? You try to come. I mean, you try to go for the purchase, right? So in the same way, like in e-commerce site, you have on a products to select, add it to the cart, then go for purchase, right? In the same way, here also we have a working directory where you write all the code. Then you add the files to staging area by running a command called git add. Once you feel all the required files are ready to my release or you push whatever, then you can say git commit with a meaningful message. You can commit to local repository. So whatever the committed information till now, whatever the commits happen, if you want to see, you can say git log. Git log will show you what are the available commits, who all committed, when committed. Okay. So let us try to do one thing. Now I'll try to modify something. Okay. Modify my code. In version 1, we have a morning. Let me make it as evening. Okay. Let me make it as evening. So, so previously I didn't save actually. Without saving, if I try to run git status, it is saying that working directory is clean and up to date. But you modified code, immediately you see here there is a one modification file. It will try to tell you there is a one unsaved file here. When you are working with an okay, this Visual Studio Code, you can understand that if it is saying something one, this particular file, one of the file is not saved yet. If I save immediately, if I, let us say if I saved it, control as I said, like it is saved. If you see here now, git status, it is saying that hey, there is a one modified file called this. So then what you can do, git add, we can do that. Then again you can commit it. Okay. So what we'll do now, git add, the file name is okay, python.py. What is the file name we created? So hello.py. Okay. Add is done. Let us say git commit -m message. So you can try to give the message. Okay. Let us say updated hello file, something like that. Okay. Now how many commits happened till now? Two commits happened, right? It will show you this latest head. Head is nothing but it is pointing to our latest commit. Right. It's something around 822. We committed that. Two commits are there. Let us say git status, what it is saying now. Yeah, working directory is clean. Whatever you modified, everything is committed. Done. Okay, good. See, every time if you look at git log, it is showing that long information, right? So if you have more number of commits, it is not that easy to okay understand all the commits. So what generally we do is git log hyphen one line. One line helps you to see commit ID, information, message, all these things into one line. There is a pretty option also there. We'll look at that. Okay. So now you see the latest code is having good evening, but you understand that oh there is something went wrong. You want to revert back. So it should be morning, but by mistake I've updated that in version 2, but I want to revert back to the version 1. Okay. So what you can do, git reset option is there. What is that? Git reset. In Git reset, we have two types actually, soft and hard. Let us try to make it as in soft as of. Okay. We have two options, Git reset, soft and hard. I'll explain you what is a soft and what is hard. Okay, we can say hyphen soft. Head is nothing but latest commit. Cap is nothing but one commit we can say. If you say two commits, it will try to say two commits. Okay. This way we can try to bring back to the staging area. Then you can bring back to working directory and all. You can do that. Okay. So the if you use soft, it is in a safe kind of like first the file whatever you modified in this commit. One cap means one latest commit, right? In that particular commit, whatever you modified, that will bring back to staging area. Then you can modify that whatever you want. You can bring it to working directory. Then you can start working. Okay. Hard is nothing but directly whatever the changes happen. Let us say you created some new files, modifications, or those all will be deleted in one go. Okay. Git reset hyphen hard head cap, let us say. Okay, sorry, my mistake. So if you do this right, so what happened? It is a bit dangerous kind of. Git reset hard is a bit dangerous because it will try to, let us say you created some 5 to 6 files, new code you written in different files, new files, they all will be deleted in one go. That is a bit dangerous kind of. So you see, previously we have updated morning to evening, that is reverted to morning, right? That whatever the commit, how many commits we had actually? Two, right? If you look at now, git log hyphen one line, it is showing only one commit. That means whatever the latest commit is there, that is deleted, including the in that commit, whatever the modifications, updates, new commits, everything got deleted. Git reset is bit reset level. We have two options. Safe is better option to use so that you have a control what you want to modify, again commit and all the options you have. But if you use hard, in that commit, whatever the changes are there, whatever the newly file created, all these things will discarded. Okay. So just practice this, whatever I discussed, very small 2 to 3 commands we discussed, like, okay, git init we discussed, and git add we discussed, commit we discussed, log we discussed, okay, git reset we discussed. In reset, we also have soft and hard. Try to do hands-on. So in next session, like we'll try to take some advanced topics. So okay, we'll try to understand more deep into that. We'll see you. See you in next session.
స్మాల్ డౌట్ ఇక్కడ.
Mhm.
హలో, ఇది గిట్ రీసెట్ హార్డ్లో ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనకు ఒక 4-5 కమిట్స్ ఉన్నాయనుకోండి, అది ఓన్లీ ఫస్ట్ కమిట్ తీసుకుంటుందా లేకపోతే ఏదైనా స్పెసిఫిక్ కమిట్ మనకు కావాలంటే అది తీసుకోవచ్చా?